The massive crystal walls of the Galactic Council chamber reflected the worried faces of the gathered representatives. At the center of the room, a hologram showed a swirling purple mass growing larger by the second. Emergency lights flashed overhead, casting red shadows across the floor. "This anomaly threatens 3 star systems," said Head Counselor Bell, his forearms gesturing at the display. "We need immediate action before it reaches the populated worlds." The warrior races sat in their designated sections, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the emergency lights. The rock breakers of Alpha Centauri, known for their unshakable courage, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The battle masters of Proxima, famous for charging into any fight, looked down at their feet. "Surely one of our brave races will step forward." Bell looked around the chamber hopefully. "The situation requires immediate investigation." The silence that followed was deafening. A representative from the Rockbreakers finally stood up. "With respect, Head Counselor, this is not a matter of combat. We cannot fight what we do not understand. This is beyond our expertise." The battle masters nodded in agreement. Their leader, covered in battle scars, spoke next. "We are warriors, not scientists. This anomaly has already swallowed 3 scout ships. We cannot punch our way through this problem." One by one, the warrior races made their excuses. The situation was too unknown. The danger was too strange. They needed more information. They couldn't waste their forces on such an uncertain mission. In the far corner of the chamber, in the section reserved for lesser races, sat Tom Wilson, the human representative. He watched the proceedings with growing concern, taking careful notes on his tablet. Unlike the warrior races who prided themselves on quick decisions and bold action, humans had a reputation for being overly cautious, always preparing for the worst. Head Counselor Bell's voice carried a note of desperation. "Will no one step forward? 3 systems will die if we do not act." Tom looked down at his tablet, reviewing the data one more time. He had already sent the information to Captain James Walker of the research vessel, Prudence. The captain's response was clear. "We can help, but we'll do it our way." Taking a deep breath, Tom stood up. The chamber fell silent again, but this time with surprise. Some of the warrior races even laughed. "The humans volunteer to investigate the anomaly," Tom announced clearly. The laughter grew louder. "The cowards," someone shouted. "The ones who triple-check their safety harnesses before every spacewalk. The same ones who spend more time planning than fighting," another voice called out. Tom remained standing, his face calm. "Yes, the same humans who have never lost a research vessel due to proper safety protocols. The same humans who have the highest survival rate in deep space exploration." The laughter died down as Head Counselor Bell raised his hands for silence. "Representative Wilson, while we appreciate the offer, this mission requires immediate action. We all know humans take time with their preparations." "The research vessel Prudence is already prepared," Tom replied. "Captain Walker has reviewed the data and developed preliminary safety protocols. They can depart within 6 hours. 6 hours? A battle master stood up. The anomaly could expand further in that time. "Better 6 hours of preparation than another lost ship," Tom answered firmly. "The Prudence will investigate the anomaly, but they will do it carefully, with proper safety measures in place." Head Counselor Bell looked around the chamber. No other race was volunteering. He turned back to Tom. "Very well. The mission is yours. But know that if you fail, 3 systems will be lost." Tom nodded solemnly. "We understand the stakes, Counselor. That's exactly why we'll take every precaution to succeed." As Tom left the chamber, he could hear the warrior races muttering about human cowardice. But he didn't mind. He had seen enough bold warriors rush into danger, never to return. Sometimes, courage meant being careful enough to come back alive. He contacted Captain Walker immediately. "It's done. The mission is ours." "Good," Walker replied. "Safety protocols are already in place. We'll do this right, not fast." The fate of 3 systems now rested in the hands of the most cautious species in the galaxy, and perhaps that was exactly what was needed. The research vessel Prudence lived up to its name. While other ships might have impressive weapons or flashy designs, the Prudence looked plain and bulky. Extra safety plates covered its hull. Backup systems had their own backup systems. Some called it ugly, but Captain James Walker called it thorough. Running final equipment check, engineer Mike Thompson announced from his station. His workspace was a perfect example of human preparation. Every tool labeled, every system monitored, and 3 different tablets showing backup readings. Again, a visiting battlemaster observer named Crowell stood at the back of the bridge, his arms crossed. That's the 3rd equipment check in 2 hours. Yes, again, Lisa Brown, the ship's chief scientist, replied without looking up from her screens. She adjusted her safety harness. Another thing that made the warrior races laugh. We'd rather be called cowards than be called dead. The preparation continued across the ship. In the security center, Robert Wells tested the emergency suits one more time. Each suit had enough air for 3 days, emergency beacons, and built-in water recyclers. The warrior races called it excessive. The humans called it necessary. "This is ridiculous," Crowell growled, watching the crew triple-check their supplies. "The anomaly grows while you count food packets." Captain Walker turned to face the battlemaster. "Those food packets might save lives if we get stranded. When was the last time one of your warships returned from the anomaly?" Crowell fell silent. 3 ships from the warrior races had already been lost. "Exactly," Walker said. "We're not just preparing to investigate. We're preparing to survive." The next few hours passed in a flurry of careful activity. Lisa's team launched probe after probe, gathering data about the anomaly's outer edge. Mike ran simulations of different approach vectors. Robert drilled the crew on emergency procedures. "Look at this," Lisa called out suddenly. She pointed to one of her screens. "The probes are showing something interesting." The bridge crew gathered around, keeping a respectful distance to maintain clear escape paths, another human safety protocol. "The anomaly's energy pattern isn't random," Lisa explained. "It repeats every few minutes, like a heartbeat. Or a signal," Mike added, studying the data. "Maybe it's not a natural phenomenon at all." Crowell stepped forward. "Then we should charge in now. If it's artificial, it might be a weapon. Or a cry for help," Walker said quietly. "And if someone needs help, they'll need rescuers who are actually prepared to provide it." The captain turned to his crew. "Final checks, everyone. Lisa, I want 3 different ways to detect that energy pattern. Mike, calculate the safest approach vector that keeps us outside the anomaly's current range. Robert, run one last drill on emergency procedures." "This is why your kind will never be true warriors," Crowell said, shaking his head. "You waste time planning while others take action." "Maybe," Walker agreed, "but we'll be alive to learn from what we find." "Mike, how are those calculations coming?" "Triple-checked, Captain," Mike replied. "I've mapped out a route that gives us maximum distance from the anomaly while still allowing our sensors to gather data." "Good. Lisa, detection systems ready. I've got primary, secondary, and backup methods for tracking the energy pattern." "Robert, all crew members have passed emergency drills. Survival suits are charged and ready. Escape pods are fully stocked." Walker nodded, satisfied. He turned to Crowell one last time. "This is why humans were chosen for this mission. Not because we're the strongest or the bravest by your standards, but because we understand that true courage isn't about rushing in. It's about making sure you can help when you get there." He sat in his captain's chair, automatically checking his safety harness. "All stations, report readiness." One by one, his crew confirmed they were ready. Every check was complete. Every system was tested. Every possibility they could think of was planned for. "Then let's go save those systems," Walker said, carefully. The Prudence moved forward slowly, its extra reinforced hull gleaming in the starlight. It might not have been the fastest response to the crisis, but it would be the most thorough. And in space, thorough meant alive. The Prudence drifted at the edge of sensor range, its banks of instruments focused on the swirling purple mass ahead. The anomaly filled the main view screen, its colors shifting and twisting in ways that made the eyes hurt. Launching Probe 17, Lisa announced, her fingers moving carefully across her control panel. The small probe shot out from the ship, its sensors already sending back data. Krell, the battle master observer, paced behind the bridge crew. 17 probes. The warrior races lost 3 entire ships, and you sent toys. Probes that cost far less than ships and crew. Captain Walker replied calmly. He watched the data streaming in, noting how each probe added another layer of understanding. Look at this pattern, Lisa. What do you make of it? Lisa leaned forward, studying the readings. The energy pulses are becoming clearer. They're not random at all. Mike, can you run these numbers through the pattern recognition software? Engineer Mike Thompson nodded, his hands flying over his keyboard. Already on it. Running it through all 3 analysis systems for verification. 3 systems to do one job, Krall muttered. More human cowardice. Robert spoke up from his security station. 3 systems that just saved our lives. Look at Probe 17's radiation readings. Everyone turned to look. The probe had detected a surge of deadly radiation that the previous probes had missed. If they had charged in like the warrior races, they would have been dead in seconds. That's why we check everything, Walker said quietly. Space doesn't give second chances. Suddenly, Mike's systems beeped in unison. Captain, you need to see this. The pattern. It's not natural. It's a message. The bridge crew gathered around Mike's station, maintaining their careful spacing. Years of safety drills had made such precautions automatic. It's repeating in a mathematical sequence, Lisa said, excitement creeping into her voice. Simple numbers first, then more complex patterns. This isn't just a message, it's a first contact protocol. Walker turned to Krall. This is why the direct approach failed. The anomaly isn't a weapon or a natural disaster. It's a test. A test? Krall asked, his warrior's pride struggling with this new information. Yes, Lisa confirmed. The radiation barrier, the complex patterns, it's all designed to keep out species that would rush in without thinking. We're probably the first ones to notice because we're the first ones to study it properly. Mike, can you decode the message? Walker asked. Working on it now. The mathematics are universal, prime numbers, geometric sequences, basic communication building blocks. Mike's fingers flew over his controls. Got it. Putting it on main screen. The swirling purple mass resolved into clear symbols. Lisa read them aloud. To those who approach with wisdom, you have proven worthy of contact. You have demonstrated the patience to observe, the intelligence to understand, and the wisdom to be cautious. Prepare for connection. Connection. Krall stepped forward. What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, the purple mass shifted. A clear tunnel appeared in its center, leading to what looked like a massive station hidden within. Scans show the tunnel is safe, Robert reported, checking multiple readings. Radiation levels normal. No detectable threats. The path is clear, Krall said. Surely now you will charge forward. Walker shook his head. No. Now we proceed exactly as we have been, carefully and methodically. Lisa, send in probes to map the tunnel. Mike, calculate the structural stresses on our hull for different speeds. Robert, prepare emergency evacuation routes in case something goes wrong. Always preparing for failure, Krall said with disgust. No, Walker corrected him. Always preparing for success, because success means getting everyone home alive. He turned to his crew. Standard safety protocols, everyone. We've come this far by being careful. Let's find out what's waiting for us by being smart about it. The Prudence moved forward slowly, its sensors extended, its crew alert and ready. They had solved the puzzle that had defeated the warrior races, not through courage or strength, but through patience and wisdom. Inside the anomaly, something ancient waited to meet the first species wise enough to approach with caution. The humans were about to make first contact, and they would do it their way, carefully, thoroughly, and safely. Inside the anomaly's tunnel, the Prudence moved at what Kral called a snail's pace. The purple walls pulsed with strange light, casting shifting shadows across the bridge. Every crew member sat at their station, double-checking readings and watching for any sign of danger. Another scanning probe shows clear paths ahead, Lisa reported, her eyes fixed on her screens. The tunnel appears to be stable, but there's something odd about the energy readings. Captain Walker leaned forward in his chair. What kind of odd? It's like... Lisa paused, adjusting her instruments. It's like the tunnel is studying us back. Every scan we send out returns with more information than it should. Mike looked up from his engineering station, confirming that. The energy patterns are adapting to our sensors. It's like they're learning our technology. Kral stepped forward, his warrior instincts on alert. This could be a trap. In battle, when something seems to study you, it's usually learning how to fight you. Walker finished. But we're not here to fight. He turned to his crew. All stations, full stop. Let's think this through. The Prudence came to a gentle halt, floating in the mysterious tunnel. The bridge crew gathered for a meeting, while keeping essential systems monitored. What do we know for certain? Walker asked. Lisa pulled up her data. The anomaly is artificial. It created this tunnel specifically for us after we passed its initial test. The energy patterns are interactive, but not hostile. At least not yet. Engineering status. Walker turned to Mike. All systems functioning normally. No strain on the hull. Power level stable. But Mike hesitated. The energy out there. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It could power 1,000 ships. Robert spoke up from security. No signs of weapons or defensive systems, but that doesn't mean they're not there. We need to decide. Do we go forward, go back, or stay here? Walker looked at each of his crew members. Options. We could send more probes, Lisa suggested. Try to learn more before committing. Or we could return with a larger fleet, Robert added. More ships means more safety. The warrior races would already be at the center, Kral said. You humans, and your endless discussions, have kept us alive. Walker interrupted. But he stood up and walked to the view screen, studying the tunnel ahead. Sometimes being careful means knowing when to take a calculated risk. The bridge fell silent. Walker turned back to his crew. Lisa, what's your gut feeling about these energy patterns? They're complex, but organized. If they wanted to harm us, they've had plenty of chances. Mike, can our systems handle going deeper? With all our backups? Yes, we're as prepared as we'll ever be. Robert, security assessment. We've mapped every escape route. Every crew member knows the evacuation protocols. We've done everything we can to be ready. Walker nodded slowly. Then I'm making the call. We're going forward. Kral looked surprised. The cautious humans are taking a risk. A calculated risk, Walker corrected. We've gathered data. We've prepared for emergencies. And we've thought it through. That's not cowardice. That's wisdom. He turned to his crew. Stations, everyone. Standard safety protocols remain in effect. The crew returned to their positions, each running final checks on their systems. Walker sat in his captain's chair, automatically checking his safety harness. Lisa, keep those sensors at maximum. Mike, maintain power to our shields. Robert, keep those escape routes updated. If anything looks wrong, we back out immediately. No heroic last stands, Kral asked, almost smiling. No heroics at all, Walker agreed. Just careful progress and a readiness to retreat if needed. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is back away from a bad situation. He pressed his comm button. All hands, this is the captain. We're proceeding deeper into the anomaly. Maintain safety protocols and stay alert. The Prudence began moving forward again, its sensors probing the way ahead. The purple tunnel seemed to pulse faster around them, as if recognizing their decision to proceed. They were about to discover what lay at the heart of this ancient mystery, but they would do it the human way, with caution, preparation, and the wisdom to know that true courage sometimes meant taking small, careful steps into the unknown. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber that took everyone's breath away. The Prudence's lights revealed a massive space station, ancient but clearly active, floating in the center of the anomaly. Its surface sparkled with the same purple energy that formed the tunnel, but here it moved in precise, geometric patterns. Scanning the structure now, Lisa said, her voice filled with awe. It's bigger than anything in our database. The energy readings are off the charts. Captain Walker studied the station carefully. Any signs of life? Yes. Lisa adjusted her instruments. I'm detecting multiple forms of energy consistent with life support systems. And there's a transmission coming through. The main screen flickered, and a figure appeared. It looked almost like water given form, its transparent body glowing with internal light. When it spoke, the ship's computers translated automatically. "Welcome, children of Earth," the being said. "You have done what many could not. You approached with wisdom rather than bravado." Krull stepped forward, his warrior's pride evident. "You mean they passed your test by being cowards?" The being's light pulsed gently. "We mean they passed our test by being wise. Tell me, warrior, what happened to the 3 ships your people sent?" Krull fell silent. "They were destroyed," the being continued, "because they charged into an unknown situation without proper preparation. The radiation barrier was not meant to kill. It was meant to warn. Those who heeded the warning and studied it survived. Those who ignored it did not." Walker stood up from his chair. "You were testing how different species would respond to the unknown." "Yes." The being's light brightened. "Long ago, our own civilization nearly destroyed itself through reckless action. We learned that true courage lies not in charging forward blindly, but in facing the unknown with wisdom and preparation." Lisa's instruments beeped urgently. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy transfers throughout the station. It's powering up." "Remain calm," the being said. "You are in no danger. We are simply revealing ourselves fully." The purple energy surrounding the station began to flow more quickly. Suddenly, the space around them seemed to shift, and they could see hundreds of similar beings moving through the station's corridors. "We are the Guardians," the first being explained. "We watch over this sector of space, waiting for species wise enough to join us. The warrior races, for all their strength, are not yet ready. But you humans, with your careful approach and thoughtful methods, have proven yourselves worthy." "Worthy of what?" Walker asked. "Our legacy." The being gestured, and complex diagrams appeared on the ship's screens. "This is only a small part of our knowledge. Technology that can save worlds, heal stars, and protect entire systems. But it must be used wisely, with careful thought and preparation." Krull stared at the diagrams in amazement. "All this power, and you choose to give it to the most cautious race in the galaxy." "Exactly because they are cautious," the Guardian replied. "Your people would use this technology to wage war. The humans will use it to build, to protect, to save." Robert spoke up from his security station. "The 3 systems threatened by the anomaly, was that part of the test too?" The being's light dimmed slightly. "Yes. The anomaly was controlled. Those systems were never in real danger. We needed to see who would step forward, and how they would approach the problem." Walker understood. "And when the warrior races refused, and when you humans accepted, but did so with proper preparation and care," the Guardian finished, "you proved yourselves ready for this responsibility." Lisa was studying the diagrams with growing excitement. "This technology, it's incredible. The applications for peaceful exploration alone." That is exactly why you were chosen, the Guardian said. You see possibilities for peace where others see weapons. You seek to understand before you seek to act. The beam turned back to Walker. Captain, if you accept, we will begin sharing our knowledge with your people. But remember, with great power comes the need for even greater caution. Walker looked at his crew, then at Krull, who stood silent and thoughtful. Finally, he turned back to the Guardian. We accept, he said, and we promise to treat your legacy with all the care and wisdom it deserves. 3 months after the Prudence's discovery, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The warrior races no longer dominated the discussions. Instead, human scientists and engineers moved through the room, sharing carefully prepared reports with other species. Captain Walker stood at the center, presenting the latest findings to the Council. Behind him, holograms showed the Guardian's technology being slowly and safely implemented across human space. As you can see, Walker explained, we've managed to stabilize the dying star in the Proxima system using the Guardian's energy manipulation techniques. The process took 6 weeks longer than theoretically possible because we tested each step thoroughly. 6 weeks wasted, muttered a rock breaker representative. Head Counselor Bell raised his hand for silence. 6 weeks spent ensuring the star wouldn't collapse and destroy 3 inhabited worlds. Please continue, Captain Walker. Walker nodded. We've also begun sharing some of the simpler technologies with other species, but only after establishing proper safety protocols and training programs. The human scientists around the room pulled up more displays, showing new medical facilities, improved food production systems, and enhanced environmental protection measures. Each innovation had been tested hundreds of times before implementation. Krull, who had remained on Earth as a liaison between the warrior races and humans, stepped forward. I have seen their methods firsthand. What I once called cowardice, I now recognize as something else entirely. The chamber grew quiet. It was rare for a battle master to admit being wrong. The humans check and recheck everything, Krull continued. They plan for every possible failure. They move slowly, carefully, treating each new discovery like a delicate explosive. And because of this, they haven't lost a single life implementing the Guardian's technology. Lisa, now the head of the human research team, pulled up another display. We've developed a series of training programs for other species who wish to learn these technologies. The first lesson isn't about the technology itself. It's about safety protocols and careful implementation. Some of the warrior races grumbled, but others looked thoughtful. The Rockbreaker's new representative raised a hand. Our people request to join the training program, she said. We have lost too many to hasty action. One by one, other representatives made similar requests. Even some of the proudest warrior races admitted that the human approach had merit. Mike, who had been promoted to chief engineer of the new Human Guardian Technology Integration Project, showed the next set of plans. These are the safety measures we're implementing for the next phase. We estimate it will take a full year to properly test everything. A year, someone shouted. The Guardian's technology could solve our problems now. Or it could create bigger problems if we rush it, Walker replied calmly. The Guardians didn't just give us technology. They trusted us with it. We won't betray that trust by being careless. The Guardian representative, a shimming figure of light, appeared in the chamber. The humans continue to prove our choice was correct. They treat our legacy with the respect it deserves. Head Counselor Bell turned to the Guardian. And what of the species who failed your test? Will they never have access to your knowledge? The Guardian's light pulsed gently. They are learning now through humanity's example. Already, we see changes. The warrior races are beginning to understand that checking safety systems is not cowardice. Planning is not weakness. Caution is not fear. Walker looked around the chamber, remembering how different it had felt just 3 months ago. We're not keeping this knowledge to ourselves. We're sharing it with everyone who's willing to learn the right way to use it. Not the fastest way, not the most impressive way, but the safe way. The Guardian glowed brighter. And that is why you were chosen. Not because you were special, but because you were careful. Not because you were the strongest, but because you were the wisest. The galaxy doesn't need more warriors. It needs teachers who understand the value of caution. Around the chamber, representatives from every species watched as the next set of human safety protocols was displayed. Some still showed impatience, but more and more nodded in understanding. The legacy of the cautious was spreading, changing the galaxy one careful step at a time. 1 year after the discovery of the Guardians, Captain Walker stood on the observation deck of the new Human Guardian Academy. Through the reinforced windows, he could see ships from every species in the galaxy practicing careful docking procedures. Each ship now carried multiple safety systems, a practice that had once been mocked as human cowardice. "Still triple-checking everything, Captain?" a familiar voice asked. Walker turned to see Krell approaching, but the battle master had changed. Gone was the heavy armor of a warrior. Instead, he wore the simple uniform of an academy instructor. "Always," Walker replied with a smile. "Old habits save lives." They watched as a rock breaker ship performed a perfect docking sequence, following all safety protocols. Just a year ago, they would have considered such careful procedures beneath their dignity. "The latest statistics are in," Krell said, holding up a data pad. "Space accidents across the galaxy have dropped by 70%. Turns out, safety protocols actually work." Lisa and Mike joined them on the deck. They had both become senior instructors at the academy, teaching other species how to properly implement Guardian technology. "Remember when they used to laugh at our safety harnesses?" Mike asked, checking his own harness out of habit. No one laughed anymore. The harnesses had saved too many lives. "The Guardians visited my class today," Lisa added. "They said they've never seen their technology used so effectively. Turns out, careful implementation gets better results than rushing in." Through another window, they could see the massive Guardian station, now permanently docked with the Academy. The purple energy flowed in peaceful patterns, no longer a mysterious anomaly, but a symbol of wisdom and progress. "We received applications from 3 more warrior races today," Krell said. "They want to join the Academy's safety and implementation programs. My own people are among them." Walker nodded. The change hadn't been easy for the warrior races, but the results were hard to ignore. Ships that followed human safety protocols came back. Crews that took proper precautions survived. Technology implemented with careful testing worked better and lasted longer. A group of students passed by. A mix of humans and aliens, including several from the proudest warrior races. They were discussing proper safety procedures with genuine interest, not a hint of the old mockery. "Captain Walker," one of them called out, "is it true that the Prudence's crew checked their safety systems 3 times before entering the anomaly?" 4 times, actually," Walker replied. "That's why we're all here to teach you about it." The students nodded appreciatively. The story of the Prudence had become famous across the galaxy, but not in the way anyone had expected. It wasn't celebrated as a tale of dramatic heroism, but as an example of wisdom prevailing over recklessness. A guardian appeared beside them, its light pulsing gently. "We have observed a fundamental shift in galactic culture," it said. "Species that once rushed into danger now pause to consider consequences. Those who once mocked caution now teach it to others." "All because you chose the cowards," Krell said, but his tone made it clear he no longer believed that label. "We chose the wise," the Guardian corrected. "And wisdom, it seems, is contagious." Walker looked out at the Academy grounds again. New buildings were under construction. Slowly, carefully, with multiple safety checks at every stage. The methods that humans had once been ridiculed for had become the galactic standard. "We never wanted to be the strongest or the bravest," Walker said. "We just wanted everyone to make it home alive." "And that," the Guardian said, "is the greatest courage of all. The courage to put safety before pride, wisdom before glory, and life before honor." As they watched, Another ship approached the Academy, following all safety protocols perfectly. Its crew would learn not just about advanced technology, but about the importance of caution, the wisdom of preparation, and the true meaning of courage. The galaxy had learned that being careful wasn't cowardly. It was the surest path to the stars. And it had taken the most cautious species in the galaxy to show them the way. Ready for tomorrow's safety inspection? Walker asked the group. Everyone nodded, and not one of them laughed. They had all learned that the best adventures were the ones you survived to tell about.